Welcome to the Vault Studios NFL podcast, an Australian twist on all things NFL. The boys are cracking into a nice cold beer from Burnley Brewing. Let's join them.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, JA, and I am joined back again. We couldn't keep her away for too long. I'm joined by Paige Cardonia. How are you?
Good, thanks, JA. How are you?
I'm all right. We had a bit of a late cancellation last week due to me potentially getting COVID, which I didn't. I'm fine.
Confirmed, not on the COVID list this week, are we?
No COVID list. I was back, but I managed to feeling a bit better on the Monday. I managed to have a bit of a chat with you at halftime of the Chiefs and Bills game where there was the rain delay on Twitter, which was good fun.
It was. It's a new initiative we're rolling out on NFL Australia. So our Twitter halftime spaces. It's just kind of a good way to sort of just engage people, get people's thoughts, hot takes, opinions, good, bad, or otherwise. And I think more than anything, it's just a bit of like in-game, something to do at halftime, bit of talk back. It's sort of good to get to know the NFL community. We are so niche here in Australia. So any opportunity, I think it is to get everybody together, but also connect people from all over the country is great.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I thought was really cool about it, was that there was just people jumping in and asking questions and telling some stories, and the fact that it was extended due to the weather was really cool. So we were able to talk for a little bit longer, it was good fun. I kind of jumped on thinking it'll just be a short 30-second jump in, jump out, and then just kept going. And I was thinking, why is the game not coming back on? I was so distracted.
I had my boss telling me, he's like, yeah, just do what you like. They're on rain delay. They're on severe weather issues. And I was like, cool, we're just going to continue here. And I guess give the people what they want, right? So we continue.
Well, you're lucky
it was
that I
good
could
fun.
talk underwater. I just, once I get going, you just wind me up and I won't stop. So,
hey, look, I'm very much the same when it comes to being able to talk American football with anybody that will listen. I take that opportunity every day of the week. But it's a good space to come chat, offload your thoughts. I love there's some really good hot takes, shit takes, whatever you want to call them. I love them. It's all inclusive. So whatever your thoughts are, we love to hear them on NFL Australia, and it's for all the ESPN primetime games throughout the week. So we get the Monday, Tuesday, and the Friday games. We get to have a good chat and put the mic out there to people to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, now Paige, you got to understand this joke from John Elliott. Our good friend DJ, who normally does this show, as a diploma.
I thought John Elliott died, didn't he?
Is that the old footy coach? This is big horsey from Wow, Paul, the great designer. He'll give you a plaque tonight, so be ready for it.
No, that's good. It is a diploma in actually being a very rare type of Collingwood supporter with all my teeth and education, and I know who my father is, so I'm ahead of most.
There's some instant shade for all the Collingwood supporters out there just tuning out, as they should. They're not welcome. Let's get into the Thursday night game. A little bit better than I guess we thought it was going to be. Still wasn't one I'd tune in for every week. I think the Bucks, it was one of those games where the Bucks, you felt like they always had the game in hand. They just kind of allowed the Eagles to hang around for a little bit. Brady was pretty good as he has been all season. The Eagles just lacked that firepower to keep up with them in the end. Yeah,
it was. You know what? It was one of those classic. Brady was just clinical, I thought. And the Bucks kind of, they went to town on Miami the week prior, and we saw what kind of game that was. That was a complete and utter whitewash. But it felt almost like they didn't need to put the foot on the throat, so to speak. The Buccaneers were, really good. And I've really loved Leonard Fournette's start to the year. I think he's been in incredible form. He's probably been the standout for me at the Buccaneers to begin the season. So really liked what I saw from him. Great to see Antonio Brown, doing Antonio Brown things. I thought Ronald Jones was quite good, and Brady was just clinical, I thought. But the Bucks, they just got so many options. I think when you throw in the guys I've just mentioned before, you throw in guys like Howard, Godwin, Evans, Braid. Giovanni Bernard, who I just love. I've loved seeing him come back into the fold as well. They're just
loaded on offense.
They are. Loaded is just the only way to put it, isn't it? Everyone's sort of fighting for, kind of receiving and carry time, aren't they? But, it's actually quite nice to see that, while typically in American sport, it's very me, I, egos and that sort of thing. There actually seems to be this whole, actually, if we all tip in, we all kind of are getting our equal kind of, share. We're better collectively than we are if there's one or two just fighting for all the yardage. So they're doing good things, the Buccaneers, but tough for the Eagles. They fought back well, I thought. Jalen Hurts has put in a couple of good weeks.
Yeah, he's got some fight in him. And it's something I do like about him. Like he doesn't roll over, which is big for a leader, and the team seems to really rally around him. Very good with his feet. We're probably going to see a bit more out of him in the air, but very athletic.
Yeah. I think he had about 10 carries himself and 44 odd yards, I think, from memory. But he's just someone I think we're only sort of tipping the iceberg with at the moment. I know he came in as that starter late in the season last year when sort of Carson Wentz, the writing was on the wall there for the Eagles, and he stepped in and, equal parts love, equal parts really quite unsure, a little bit green. But I think his start to the season's been quite admirable, and particularly in the last couple of weeks. I think he's done really well, and we're only going to see Jalen Hurts get better and better. And I think he's probably just going to be a bit more of a slow burn than perhaps some of the guys in that same, rookie class as him at position come through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, all in all, but I think this game went as expected. Buccaneers get the win, and it never felt like it was too in danger watching the game.
No, that's exactly it.
Yeah, we'll go over what we're going to do, guys, this week. There's a few games which, aren't amazing on the slate. We're going to do a rapid fire. So basically, myself and Paige are going to give it a winner and a quick one sentence of why. Start with the Dolphins in London at the Jaguars in London. Who have you got winning this one, Paige?
This is hard for a couple of reasons. Look, are the Jags going to get their first win? I don't know. Run game's looking good with James Robinson, I think. This might be the game that I think the Jags win. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. I know they've been awful, and so has everything coming from Urban Meyer, equally as awful. I really like what, Austin and Agnew have been doing at wideout. And it feels like Trevor Lawrence is ready to sort of make a bit of a statement. I think this might be the game. I don't know. Miami are a bit wayward for mine. They're really, really struggling in a few areas, Miami. I think I'll take the Jags, but this game is
the tough one.
Yeah, flip a coin.
I'm going to go against you. I'm going to go Dolphins, and it's purely because Tua's back. I think he's going to give them that burst of energy. I think they're a bit better than what their record says. They almost beat the Patriots week 1. Well, they beat the Patriots week 1, one of the two, but they've struggled the last couple of weeks due to some injuries. I think they'll get it right. I don't think the Jaguars are very good at all, and I think they'll have
they're shocking.
Have a big win. Next one.
We'll figure that one out when it comes to it, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll hear from me if they do get up.
Oh, I'm sure I will. Rams at Giants. I'll go first. I don't know how Daniel Jones is playing in this game. The guy was a zombie after being concussed. Clearly, there's different rules for different positions in the NFL, because any other spot you would not get on the field next week. I think the Rams are one of the cream of the crop in the league, and the Giants are certainly not, and they're going to see it again this week with some injury woes, and the Rams are going to run and pass and do whatever they want. They're going to destroy them. It's going to be a big win for the Rams for me. Who have you got?
Yeah, Rams as well. I think this game could probably have an R18 plus parental guidance on it. This is going to be a massacre. This is not going to be fun for Giants fans out there. So Rams comfortably.
Yes, me too. Texans at Colts. I'll let you go first on this one. Who have you got in Indianapolis?
Look, Colts. In a word, Colts. My good mate Corey McKernan is telling me this is the week that the Colts get everything together. I'd hope so, because they're playing the Texans. I think this is going to be an ugly game as well, but I'll take the Colts, certainly.
Yeah, I think Colts at home. That had a real tough loss to the Ravens last week, who I think are a really good football team, the Ravens. And I think the Colts, I'm really impressed with Carson Wentz. He again, similar to Hurts, but we talked about before, he's got a lot of fight in him. He hasn't quit. His attitude seems great. He seems happy there. There's some issues around him. There's some injury issues there. But T.Y. Hilton's back this week, which is a big in for the wide receiver.
It's a huge in.
Yeah. We saw Pittman get going last week. Pittman had 5 catches up until the game last week and had 7 in the game. So he's more than doubled his season total in one game, which is finally seeing him getting moving again. So I think Colts, big winners at home against a pretty average Texans team.
They're not out of the AFC South race yet either, so
no,
it's
not.
A big one for them.
They win this week, they're alive. They can slim hope.
Absolutely.
Bengals at Lions. We talked about the Lions just before we started recording Paige. We would both feel a bit sorry for them. In saying that, I don't know if the Bengals are that good. And I did this a couple of weeks ago to you, Paige. I had this real feeling about a team, and I'm getting it again about the Lions. I think they're due for something to go their way. I don't think the Bengals are as good as what everyone thinks they are. I think they're a bit worse than a 3-2 record. I think they're lucky with who they've played, and they're lucky getting the Vikings missing a field goal week 1, which would have cost them the game. If they're sitting at 2-3, we're thinking completely differently about them. They're explosive on offense, but the Lions have got some guys up front defensively that could really challenge the offensive line of the Bengals, and I think it's the Lions' week. I think they're going to have an upset at home. Probably the upset of the week for the podcast. I think it's going to be, just got this feeling that they're going to get it done against the Bengals.
Yeah, it's Dan Campbell has been saying all week that, hey, one day we're going to start winning these. And I hope for his sake that they do, because they've got one of the worst track history records in the NFL Lions. But yeah, I think the Bengals will just win, and they'll win ugly. I think I'm probably more interested to see the 2 rookie picks, Jamar Chase and Penei Sewell, go head to head. Obviously, Chase's one end of the spectrum has been fantastic for the Bengals, and Sewell is really struggling to find his feet at this level. So I think if those 2 cross paths, that'll be quite interesting. But I'm gonna take the Bengals. Again, I don't have confidence in doing so, but I think the Bengals I've really liked what Mixon's been doing at RB. I think he's had a really good start to the year, but certainly, not certainly, I'm more uncertain. I think that the Bengals win, and they win ugly, or they lose ugly. It could be we could be seeing lots of missed field kicks. It could be one of those things, but I'll take the Bengals, but without any comfortability in that.
Yeah, well, it is the Lions. They will find a way to win. They will definitely make this game ugly and probably lose it in disgraceful standards. So that's it for our rapid fire. We'll move on to the early slate of games. So if you're in Australia, it is still the 4 a.m. time bracket. So get your beauty sleep while you can. Get up. If you've got kids,
set that alarm.
Get them up with you. Teach them early. What you got to do is you got to do what I did and build a room under your house so you can hide and no one can find you. All right, 4 a.m. up, get it done. The first game of that, or the first interesting game, I should say, of that morning slate, we've knocked a few off now, but the Chiefs at Washington, and this is really a huge game for both these teams. Both sitting at 2-3. Washington have got the Dallas Cowboys, who are running away with the NFC East right now. The Chiefs have got the Chargers, who are running away with the West at the moment. Both of them really need this win. Chiefs have looked really bad. Well, not really bad. They've lost to some good teams that they didn't probably think were as good as what they were, but some disappointing losses. Mahomes hasn't quite been his normal self. And they're going into Washington where, the opposite. Everyone thought defensively they'd be really good this year, and they've really struggled. And then Taylor Heineke's been, he's been okay at quarterback. He's very hit and miss. He makes great plays and has just dreadful misreads and poor execution. But his top is really good and his low is really low, which can be quite a roller coaster to watch. I guess for me, it's hard to look past the Chiefs here, though. I don't think Washington are that good. And I think the Chiefs are going to find this is kind of a get right game for them this week. They're going to sort them out. What do you reckon, Paige?
Yeah, it feels like a correction game for the Chiefs. I think what happened last Sunday night there's no other way to put it, is a complete and utter embarrassment. They were upstaged. They were beaten from pillar to post and completely, trounced in front of their home crowd. And we know Arrowhead's a pretty hostile environment. So for the Bills to come in almost so arrogantly and smugly and sort of say, hey, as soon as they step foot on that field, I just had a feeling they were going to win. I think they've had that matchup circled in the calendar for a good 9 months after what happened, last season. But I think the Chiefs are really struggling at the moment. It's sort of one of those teams that we know what they're capable of. We know they've got a lot of great players, but they're not actually playing together as a team right now. And I think cohesion says so much for that. Pat Mahomes has been throwing picks, and that's something that we have not – picks and Pat Mahomes is something that we have not ever included in the same sentence before. There just seems to be a disparity right now, and I know the O-line is kind of a bit shambolic. There are some injuries. But the one thing for me, there is such a reliance on Kelsey and there's such a reliance on Tyreek Hill. But apart from that, who are the other options for the Chiefs right now? I think that's where they're being challenged. And I think that's where teams have gone, well, for the last 2 years, we know you're going to throw to Kelsey and we know you're going to throw to Tyreek. And we know you can play a deep ball to Tyreek, but we've got safety options now to cover that off. It really is a challenging time now. I think that they've got to sort of weather the storm. And I think this game against Washington presents them as that perfect correction game.
Yeah, I think so too.
Looking at Washington, they've almost, and I'm sorry to bring your Cowboys into this, JA, but they've got their defense has got that 2020 Cowboys level of confusion at the back end. It's just,
they don't know what they're doing.
Probably, there seems to be, they're all looking at each other going, you got it? It's like that Simpsons meme. You got it?
Yeah.
You got it? You got it? Like, who's doing what here? Obviously, they don't come with the fanfare and limelight as the Cowboys did last year and the questions that were asked of them. But I can see similarities in what's happening there, and I'm a little bit concerned for Washington. I got to say, I give you a lot of love and credit to Tyler Heineke. I think what he's been able to do this year has been really impressive. I'm quite kind of happy for those stories, I think, to take place in football. He's been such a journeyman, hasn't he? But there's just not enough firepower for them. In saying that, I don't think they're going to be able to contain the Chiefs, and I think it'll be a pretty standard win for the Chiefs. Oh, my dog's just decided to come into the to the show. Hello there. Hello, Sally. Welcome.
This is like the good old days. I
feel like
I'm running into the studio all the time.
I feel like she's just come in and gone, what, you're talking about football again? She comes in here while I work and watch all my football in here and have all my screens set up for when I'm working with the NFL Australia, and she sits here like, this is good with me.
Well, she's to her credit, she's probably got as much right to be in here as anyone else that comes on this show. Except for you. Definitely more than Richie and DJ.
She walked down probably went, I've had enough of this already. It's not even Monday yet and you're talking about it. Anyway, we digress.
I think with just going back to Washington's defense, I think they got a bit ahead of themselves. I think last year they were basic and relied on really good talent, and basic's probably not the right word, but a bit more simplistic than what they're doing now. And I think maybe in the offseason they've thought, we've got all these great players, let's dial some things up, let's do this, let's do that, and it's not working. And this often happens. Defense, we know defense year to year has the biggest fluctuation. It's not consistent, and it relies heavily on coaching, guys being in the right place at the right time. Look at a guy like Trayvon Diggs. Yes, he's playing well, but getting that many interceptions isn't normal. Like that's not going to continue. He's not going to have 20 interceptions for the season. It can be a lot of right place, right time for defense. And I think they've come in. They're a bit too cute. They're trying to do too much with what the guys they've got. When if you've got this sort of talent, you don't need to do that sort of stuff. Just get out there and tell you guys to play hard, put them in situations they understand and know what to do, and let your players play for you. And I think that's where Washington have got it wrong at the moment.
Yeah, I think you can't. For me, I look at Washington, and obviously coming into the season, they were sort of dubbed, the really next big thing in terms of, defense. And there's a lot of hype around them, and they put a lot of time and effort into the defensive unit. But I know, again, I talk about in American football, we love the characteristics of the individuals and the egos and stuff like that. But defense you can't automatically assume that a flashy player or a unit is going to achieve full-scale dominance at the drop of a hat. You just can't. And I think this defensive unit's still gelling. And I think there's been a big expectation for me coming in. I think certainly from what the media has spoken about, and obviously fans too, that this is going to be a really good defensive unit. But it hasn't come to fruition yet, and I think they're still gelling. But also, I think there's a few guys that probably just need to consider taking a step back and doing the team thing. And I think the brilliance of making these stops or intercepts or forced fumbles or what have you is starting to get ahead of, well, why do we defend in football for the first place? The fundamentals of defending have been completely lost on that unit. And for me, that's a little bit concerning. But that will grow. And I think that unit is still growing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they'll get there. This might be a bit of a down year for them. Then they'll look to bounce back next year with maybe a quarterback.
I think so too. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I'm taking the Chiefs in this game. And I'm pretty
comfortably. Yeah. Give me the Chiefs and give me plenty of them.
Beautiful. We'll move on to another one we were talking about before we started recording. You mentioned you love a Packers at Bears game. Who doesn't? Like Packers Bears, it's a great rivalry. NFC North. Bears are a little dinged up this week. They potentially not going to have Allen Robinson, their star wide receiver. Potentially not going to have Khalil Mack, their star defensive player. Two guys you kind of want when you're going against an Aaron Rodgers who, after a slower start to the season, is really starting to get into his stride now. And again, this is very similar to the Chiefs. I don't think the Bears are as good as what their record tells us. I think they're 3-2 right now. Yeah, 3-2. I don't think they're as good as that. I think they're lucky with who they've played as well. I think the Packers are a much better football team, and I think they go in and I think they take care of the Bears pretty easily.
Yeah, I think, again, love a good rivalry like this. These two really proud traditional franchises. Not a lot of love lost between these teams.
No.
For me, I think it's quite interesting. I mean, you've touched on the injuries that are going to present problems to the Bears. I think one of the presenting problems at the moment for the Packers is that the offense isn't moving the chains like it was last season. And I think we've seen that by Rodgers taking some, kind of impatient, attempts. He's pulling the trigger on shots that he probably would like a little bit more time on. And I think we're still we've seen some really good moments of Packers football, but we've also seen some pretty, moments go, what was that? Like, what was the offense thinking then? What was the play? What was the play call there? If Khalil Mack is going to be out, that obviously, he's up there with, Robert Quinn and Bill Nichols. Those guys really control games for the Bears, and they rely on them so much to do so. And you think if he was there, they'd be able to keep Aaron Rodgers in check. I'm just not sure that this is the week they'll be able to do it. The Bears get the home field advantage. They'll create a pretty hostile environment, but I can't really see this one going any other way apart from a Packers win, unless something incredible happens and Justin Fields can produce some
That's what I was going to say.
Game of
it could
brilliance.
Be a Fields game. It could be a big Fields game. It really could.
Honestly, could be. It for me, I think you don't want to pour expectations onto rookies. I don't like to anyway, but they come with their own expectations and hype and whatnot. But if there's a game this year that Justin Fields says to every other team that overlooked him before he was taken at Chicago's pick, this is the game to do it. And I think if he's to say, hey, I'm not just generation next, I'm generation now. It starts
and the
now.
Packers defense isn't good. Packers defense is
exactly.
They're not really
they give up
in any
points
area.
too.
Yeah.
No, that's it. They allow points. They give up opportunities. If you're good enough to take those opportunities and make them count, you'll beat the Packers. The Packers I know they're on a 4-1 winning streak right now. This could just be the game they slip up in. I don't think that they will, but if we see Justin Fields getting going early, I think that's where the upset can occur.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's about the only chance I give them. But again, it's going to be an uphill battle. And Justin Fields is a bit banged up. But, we have seen if you're a running quarterback in the NFL, you're going to have to get used to being banged up because there are some big guys that are going to be hitting you a lot. And, I think Trey Lance is learning this as well. But, if you're going to be an athletic quarterback, you better learn how to get down. Watch a lot of Russell Wilson film. I think both of us are taking the Packers, though, on the road dogs there. And let's go to what potentially could be the game of the week here. Chargers at the Ravens. Are there any... And answer me this, Paige. I'm shattered this is a morning game because I think this is the best game of the week. This should be the Sunday night game. Stuff the Seahawks and the Steelers. But Chargers at Ravens, is there any two teams that are more exciting to watch right now than these two?
Nope.
In a single word, no. Herbert is incredible. And Lamar Jackson is just about the biggest roller coaster I've ever seen. Like watching him play football is that enjoyable.
Honestly, you've got two ends of the spectrum here with Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert. Both for the exact same reason. They are incredible quarterbacks, two completely different types of QBs. Mm-hmm. Lamar Jackson, he's like the human joystick, that guy, right? You can toggle him around as if you're playing like Madden, and he just does moves that you think, oh my God, I didn't know I could do that in this game. He does that on a weekly basis. Again, whether he's using his legs or his arms, he's just incredible. He just makes things happen. He gives me butterflies to watch because I'm like, oh my God, what is he going to do? He's incredible to watch. Justin Herbert, on the other hand, he's like a surgeon. He is so clinical. His passing has been, I can't remember. I mean, I know I'm going to go as far to say this. You remember when Pat Mahomes was really taking off and everyone went, okay, this guy's got something. He's special, this Mahomes guy. Justin Herbert is right there.
I agree.
I watched Chargers games purposefully to watch Justin Herbert. I have not been drawn to watch a team other than my 49ers on such a weekly basis that I am with Chargers games and watching Justin Herbert. He is just – these two are the best two closers in the NFL. There's daylight in everybody else. Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert, both clutch as hell for two different reasons. Herbert's finding targets that you didn't even know were there, and he's getting the deep ball that otherwise scientifically says that does not work. The degree of difficulty that he is coming up with and creating. I mean, you'd love to be Keenan Allen right now, right? You'd just be my eyes would be lighting up like dinner plates.
Mike Williams barely had a catch for 4 years after being a top 10 pick, definitely.
I didn't know that guy still had a pulse until this year.
And now he's like the most productive wide receiver in the NFL. And it's ridiculous. A new coach and a quarterback that can literally go, you know what? You're really big, you're really strong, and you're super athletic, and you're way bigger than that guy. And I'm going to put this ball to your back shoulder, to your front foot, wherever you want it. I will put it exactly where you need it to be, and you just grab it. And he has to talk about changing your career, and also. Well done to the Chargers for backing him in. Obviously, they were seeing this sort of talent, but not seeing the production. Yep. There was injury concerns. I think everyone's kind of stuck by Mike Williams, where in the past, teams might have gone away and cut him and stuff like that, and who knows what then happens. But, they've stuck with him. They've seen the talent, and now it's coming home to roost for them. But, yeah, I'm so excited for this game. I'm picking the Ravens, and it's only for one reason. It's at home. I just genuinely don't know this game could go absolutely either way. But all I know is after watching what Lamar Jackson did through the air last week in that second half,
my God.
This narrative of Lamar Jackson is just a running back, he is not just a running back. He is a quarterback, and he's exceptionally talented, and they've finally got some pieces around him that can get it done. Hollywood Brown.
And they've been having injuries too. His defense has been eaten up by injuries as well.
Yeah, they are a great team.
I have a lot of respect for both teams. I think, Baltimore, to touch on them quickly, this is a franchise that said after what was a disappointing end to the postseason, they thought anyway, I know the Bills got them, but they came out and said it is Super Bowl or bust for us next year. And I think they're starting to live that and breathe that now. They were disappointing in week 1 against the Raiders and really should have come away with a dub there. But what we're seeing, I think now Lamar is making those receivers move. And he makes things happen that really shouldn't happen. I've got to give some credit here to, I think, Brandon Staley. I think what an incredible start to your debut year as a head coach. Not only is he's a rising star in the ranks, obviously, but I really loved what he said during the week, during his press conference regarding the John Gruden situation. Institutions, franchises, you are only as good as what is happening on behind the scenes. And that is, you can apply that method to every sports team across the world. You are only as good on the park as what is happening behind closed doors in administration. The Chargers, I think, have sat back during the off season, have made all these plays, and they've done it while the other team across the road, the Rams, have been copying all the headlines, Super Bowl, and look at this defense and look at this offense, and Matt Stafford's in town, and we got SoFi Stadium as well, and it's all about the Rams. It's all about the Rams. And the Chargers have sat back and gone, this is completely fine with us, guys. You take this, and we'll happily just get kicked back and do our thing. They are doing incredible things. They are so well balanced. They are a joy to watch. I love watching Chargers football. The running game for the Ravens, it's been not much really has been there sort of of late. That's probably the only hole I can poke in this game is what happens to the running game at the Ravens. But a flip of a coin for me, I think that if the Chargers win, if the Bolts get up on the road and beat Baltimore, there is going to be a lot of hype around this team. There's hype now because they've knocked off some good competition, and they sit atop. I think when I last checked of the AFC, are they currently on top of the AFC?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, well, they're going to make a big statement if they can knock off Baltimore on the road. I'm going to back them to do so. I just really like what's happening there. No fuss. They might not have all the big, massive names, but they're getting the job done. And if I didn't love the 49ers this much, JA, I'd jump onto the Chargers. If I was a newcomer to American football, I'd be all over the Chargers bandwagon. That'd be my team. But they're doing great things there, the Chargers, and I'd take them it is going to be a very close one, I think.
Very good game. So we're split here. This is the second one we're split for. I've got Ravens.
We are.
Only because it's at home, but I cannot. This game better not be disappointing. It better not be. If I'm up at 4 a.m. and this game sucks, there's literally nothing else to look forward to. Like Chiefs, Washington, maybe. Or you can watch the Rams kick the shit out of the Giants. They're about your only two options.
Yeah.
This
is worth getting up at 4 a.m. for. Just
100%. I think it'll deliver. We'll get into the late slate of games now. So that's a 7 a.m. start. So for some of you more casual fans that aren't psychotic like some of us, want to get up before 7 a.m. It's doable. It's not too bad. Get up, chuck it on. Everyone's working from home at the moment in Melbourne anyway. So chuck it on. And the first game, again, I said earlier that the Chargers Ravens might be the game of the week. This one's a very close second right now. You got the Cardinals at the Browns. Browns, we talk about teams being, better than their record. The Browns for me could easily be a 5-0 team. Easily. They are
100%.
easily that good.
100%.
They've had a couple of really tough losses against better teams, whereas the Cardinals, they've beaten a couple of good teams, but not the same as the Browns. They haven't had the same sort of competition. So the Cardinals going to Cleveland, they're the favorites going into Cleveland, but I know who you're going to want to talk about, Paige, because I know who your big football crush is at the moment, and that is Kyler Murray. His play has been, we talk about Herbert and Lamar before. Kyler Murray's up there with guys you want to watch at the moment too.
Early in the season, I made a remark and said something like, I think the Cardinals are going to make it, have some fun early in the season. And I would not be surprised to see Kyler Murray come up as a smoky to be in MVP calculations. Now, it's 5 weeks in. I'm not wrong
He's
yet.
in it.
And
no, he is in the calculations.
He's well and truly. This guy is just making things happen that, it's almost like he wants the opposition to make him scramble because he has more fun doing that.
Yeah.
He's a madman.
Looks like a kid.
Do you know what I mean?
It looks like that kid you used to play with in high school and primary school and stuff like that was way better than all of you, way more athletic, and he'd mess around with you. Like he'd be like, "Oh, come on, you come and try and tackle me," and then he'd just run around you, just to make you look stupid. That's what Kyler Murray looks like. Yeah, just make you look dumb. That's what Kyler Murray does 95% of the time, and
it's just like. How many throws has he made off the back foot? Like, you're just like,
everyone.
What are you doing, man?
How does easy to count the front foot throws. He just doesn't
Who
throw.
Who allowed this? What is
happening?
He's just doing, again, like, I think the Cardinals, the one thing I will say about the Cards is that has there been a 5-0 team to start the season where you're still not convinced on them?
The Steelers last year got all the way.
Okay, well, you just historically just don't like the Steelers and don't rate them anyway. So I'm removing your bias from that. But
I don't know why I hate the Steelers.
Honestly,
it's just fun to hate on them.
I know you just damn Steelers.
But you're right. The Cardinals. No one's sure on the Cardinals yet. No one's sure about it.
It's funny. Like you're totally right, though. I don't think they were impressive against the 49ers. Last week at all. And they didn't really convince me. I think, for them, they won ugly, and they just, sometimes you just got to put those ugly games down. You go, well, we won them, so tick, box ticked. Yeah. Fascinating makeup of this game, I think. Cleveland, as you said, really unlucky not to be 5-0. They've come away with 2 heartbreaking losses. That obviously Chiefs in week 1, the Chargers last week. Almost 90 points scored in a game, over 1,000 yards of offense, I think it was. They've scored 40 odd points and still lost. That just doesn't happen in modern football at all. So, look, it's obviously Clowney and Ward, they're going to be out. And I think I'm going to say Cleveland. I'm going to say Cleveland. I think this is where the Cards kind of get shown up. If they're going to lose a game, then being to the Browns right now, is probably the way it's going to go. I'm a little bit concerned here for the Cardinals. If they beat Cleveland, we'll give them their dues. Because Cleveland are a good team. They've just been really, really unlucky. I think
Chubb out in this one too.
Yeah, Nick Chubb is out, isn't he? Yeah, so a huge out. But I still think Cleveland are a really good unit. They're a really good deep unit. They've got coverage everywhere. Their depth charts are really quite good. They were a team that I was really bullish about in the AFC early on in preseason sort of discussions. This is a game I think that Cleveland make a statement in, and I think probably
I think so too.
It's a good way to make up for what's been 2 shitty losses. Let's put it that way. And to beat a team that's 5-0, whether people rate the Cards or not, it doesn't matter. They're still a 5-0 team. They're the only team undefeated. To knock them off, to go, yep, cool, tick that box, make a statement. This would be the week to do it. I think the Browns here.
Yeah, I think the Browns at home, as I said, as much as Kyler Murray has been fun to watch, they're not going to go undefeated. I think this is a tough road trip into a hostile area with a good team. Baker's got something to prove. There's a bit of heat on Baker, and we know that he bounces back well when there's some heat on him. It's another narrative that I think's a big part of it. Odell Beckham Jr. still hasn't got going. Landry's back for this week as well, which just puts more pressure on a defense. And then you mix that all in, and you've got Myles Garrett, who's in about the best form of his career, coming off that edge against the weakest part of this team is the offensive tackles of the Cardinals. Yeah. That's their weakest area.
Yeah,
and I think unfortunately is the Browns' strength. So I think the Browns will win this. I don't think it's going to be as close as what people think. I think it'll be a 10-point, 14-point win for the Browns at home.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I think, as you said, I love Myles Garrett. I'm just going to say that.
So fun to watch.
Far out.
Have you seen the picture of him in high school when he's running next to the other offensive and defensive linemen, and he looks like he's 40 and they're 6 years old?
I did see that. It was like footballers that look like they're actually like sophomore, college students playing high school football.
It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let's move on. We're both taking the Browns at home there. Let's move on to Raiders at Broncos. Now, I could have easily put this in the rapid fire part, but the reason I didn't want to was because a bit going on in this game. And one of the big things just after the podcast we did on Monday night, as it always happens, the big news breaks the morning after. John Gruden resigns as head coach of the Raiders. If you haven't seen what has come out from those emails, you've been living under a rock. It's pretty disgusting. A lot of it, all of it, really bad. Is it unfair? Yeah, somewhat. But I've always been told that if you wouldn't say something out loud, don't put it on paper. And John Gruden clearly doesn't follow those lines. And clearly, I don't know about you, Paige, when you say something, when you write something down, it's something that you really don't care. Or it's something that you do mean because you're writing it down. So that thought, not only you're thinking of it, you can sometimes blurt something out your mouth and go, oh, that was stupid. I didn't mean to say that. But if you're writing something down, you're taking the time to write that, It's
preemptive, isn't it?
Yeah, those emails, whether he was coaching then at ESPN, whatever he was doing, they're disgraceful. And he's now resigned, and the Raiders are in trouble.
Do you know what? We talk about the John Gruden situation. I don't care whether they were from last week, last month, last year. When they were written, they were still written and they were said. And there was meaning behind it. And it can be framed and, put together however which way. But, so much has to be said to the institution of what the NFL is and what it has been doing, particularly around Black Lives Matter, particularly around pride and inclusion and reaching out to the LGBTIQ community, the inclusion from all cultures, ethnicities, gender-based stuff as well. The push for inclusion of more women in vital roles in football, both at franchise level. We see how great the media. I always find when I watch NFL, anything, there is such a great representation of females that really know their stuff. But again, ethnicities, colours, creeds, cultures. I think that is the thing that makes this sport fantastic. And in a society now, we are a society that does not accept racism, does not accept homophobia, does not accept using something that somebody cannot control or are born with against them in a way that excludes them 100%. Or makes them feel horrible for it. And the NFL copped a lot of slack earlier in the year when they had that Pride Month. They changed a lot of their imagery to, the LGBTIQ flag. That copped a lot of backlash. We've seen the whole movement with Colin Kaepernick and how that came to light, and obviously everything that happened in Minnesota. We've seen so many things that has transcended football that the NFL have put their hand up and go, you know what? We will be the movement makers here. We will be on the right side of history and we'll set the record straight and provide a platform for our people in all facets of football to use this as a vehicle to make their point, and they have. And that's the best thing about this football league, is that they've allowed that speech and that movement to occur. Now, John Gruden there was nothing other than his resignation was going to suffice. And I think, now we've seen that go further down the line. We saw the Buccaneers come out, remove him from, their Ring of Fame. Yep. And that is such a huge thing. Kind of takes me back to the whole Penn State situation, Penn State football. It really sort of, took me back to a time when that was happening. And, at the end of the day, I think if we are going to do right things in society, then we need to make sure we're on the right side of history and ensuring that people like this are removed. And this is still a safe space for people to be who they are and apply their trade. And really, when you come back to football, the Raiders without John Gruden are the same Raiders with a John Gruden. They're just a flawed team in a low division, and there's no real gimmies with this team.
No, and I don't think just on that, what you said, that's a great line about John Gruden. The Raiders are, and it kind of brings me. And this is like I've had a few people message me about what I think of the Gruden situation, all that sort of stuff. People know when I went pretty hard on guys like Tyreek Hill, Joe Mixon, those sorts of guys. Had terrible backgrounds, and this is my issue with the NFL as a whole. Right, I completely stand by what they're doing with Gruden, and whoever pushed him out the door, whether they did or not, I think well done for Gruden to realize his situation and then resign and make it easier on everyone, because I think otherwise they were going to fire him. It was a way. My thing is, if the way the NFL sells it, though, right? Tyreek Hill beats the crap out of his pregnant wife, locks her in a room, breaks his son's arm, or protects his wife who did it. One of the two. Either of it's just as bad. You've got guys like Ben Roethlisberger with sexual assault charges that are allowed to play in the NFL. Reuben Foster allowed back in the NFL. Greg Hardy threw his girlfriend on a bed, loaded with guns, and said, "Pick the gun I'm going to kill you with," yet got to play for the Cowboys for another year because he was a good football player still and only didn't stop playing. Ray Rice, if he was still good at the time, I guarantee you he would have played in the NFL again after that video. And this is my issue, right? I'm all for, and maybe this is the start of the change, I'm not sure. I'm all for these signs of, yes, Gruden, he is clearly the wrong person. He shouldn't doing what he's doing, but let's force him out. But if you're Tyreek Hill or Kareem Hunt, who gets to play tomorrow, gets to be the starter tomorrow with Nick Chubb out, and he kicked someone. Now, whether it was a big kick or a little kick or not, the intent was there. He tried to kick a female. As a father of two daughters, I find it a really bitter pill to swallow that John Gruden's out for writing some horrible things on email. Zeke Elliott pulled a woman's top down at a parade. Pulled her top down. John Gruden sent pictures of girls and with the owner. What's worse? But Zeke Elliott, he's suiting up tomorrow for the Cowboys, earning $19 million a year. I said they've got to get consistent with the message. That's
absolutely, yeah. And do you know what? Unfortunately, this is such a. As a female that has spent her life and her career, I mean, I've grown up in sport. My whole career has been in the world of sport. And you see the best and you also see the worst of people. And it can make it really tough. I work with someone on another network who has been convicted of some pretty horrible stuff towards women, and it makes me feel pretty uncomfortable when I've got to work with that person, even though they're a pretty good bloke. And that is the issue. I think we make concessions for good blokes, for likable blokes and talented blokes. And that's the same in any sports league in the world. If you're a good footballer and you're a good clubman and you do a lot of things for our football club, chances are you can stuff up and you'll still get a contract and you'll still be here tomorrow.
Someone will look after you.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think one thing I really admire that the AFL do is that they have a law in terms of bringing the game into disrepute, where rather than, making a specific law that targets behavior and stuff like that, it's an open-ended sort of law that states that anything that makes our brand look really horrible in a certain sort of way, we're going to charge you under this rule of bringing the game into disrepute. And that is bringing our brand into the limelight for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
and the NFL need to get better. I think they've started to get a bit better. They're a long way off. Again, you mentioned these guys and what they've done and now what they're still able to do. Unfortunately, we're in a league that pays millions and millions of dollars to guys that have done some pretty shit things.
Yeah.
And
coaches and owners,
exactly. Yeah. And it's widespread. It's going to take a really stronghold franchise next time a situation bobs up to make a statement and say, this isn't part of our culture. It's also not what we stand for. We don't condone it. We don't want you here. Get out.
And I think this was the Raiders. I think it was. Yeah. I don't think John Gruden resigned because he wanted to. I think who resigns 4 years into a 10-year, $100 million contract? I don't think.
No.
I think they said to him, we're gonna make sure this contract gets stopped. We're gonna make sure you pay for this. We're not gonna get paid, so you may as well resign.
Any way that he was, as soon as that came out, his career was done. Yep. There's no coming back from that, particularly in light of what's happening worldwide right now, the movements that are happening and the conversations around that. There's no way. There's no way.
Agreed. Well, I guess I was actually really glad, Paige, that so I haven't addressed this yet from the Vault studio, and I was glad that I got to do that with you because it's good to have some insight, from a female perspective about this sort of stuff. Because I said I'm a father of two very young girls, and I know what my daughters are going to be like. They're going to be active in sport because that's what me and my wife are both like. I've seen my wife go through sport, and it's different, and it shouldn't be. It just really shouldn't be. It should just be the same. And I said on the show when this got first brought up, the night obviously hadn't been fired, not as much had come out yet, but just some of the emails had come out. I said, why can't everyone just treat everyone the same? Just treat everyone nicely. If you wouldn't say it to someone's face, don't put it in a message to them. You know what I mean? I just don't get the point. We've got to get to this point where we have to stop having these conversations about why should this shouldn't have been said, but this can be said. Just don't say any of it.
It's like you're not wrong.
4-year-old, the kindergarten rule. If it's not something nice, just don't say it.
Yeah.
Or if you do, you got to deal with ramifications, and that's what John Gruden's doing now.
Absolutely.
In saying that, I'm taking Broncos at home. I think the Raiders are going to be reeling, lost their head coach. I think they're in real trouble. Broncos have been solid this year without being terrific. So probably one of the worst 3-2 teams going around, but I think they'll get the win at home against the Raiders, who I think are going to just really fall off a cliff now. I really think they're going to struggle.
Yeah, big time. Starting 3-0 and then taking a dive. 4-0, sorry. Starting 4-0, taking a dive. Funny thing is, for the Raiders, I think that they overachieved to start the season anyway.
Me too.
I think they were probably given a concession of maybe eight games to win this year, if that, maybe. Yep. They've already won 4. They've overreached, and I think this is where the gravy train stops for them. Broncos will win this.
Agreed. Let's move on to just what more do you want to watch on a Monday, 7 a.m. The Cowboys at the Patriots. We don't have to spend too much time on this page. I'll give my quick hot take. The people live will give me a hard time about it because it's pro-Cowboys, which I'm not always pro-Cowboys. I'm just really enjoying the Cowboys team at the moment.
So, you know what? I'm going to stop you there. You should.
Yeah, tell me.
You absolutely should. I get shit canned on my own weekly show for being almost like a Cowboys convert. Now, I am not, all right? And I'm really enjoying what the Cowboys are doing. They're a fun team to watch. They've got a good blend of offense and defense. They've got really likable coordinators. They've got really, I don't know. I've never been one to be like, yeah, Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Last
Me neither,
person,
and I've married for them.
49ers fan. I don't care about the Cowboys and America's team, but they've been really good. We just have to acknowledge and appreciate the fact and give them their dues. I know it's easy to shit can on the Cowboys. I know it's easy to find a way to peg them down, right? As a society in NFL, that's what we do. We do that to the Cowboys.
Yep.
They have just got that. They've had weapons everywhere this year. The Cowboys. They really should be a 5-0 team. They were super unlucky to lose to the Bucks in Week 1, and they've been on an absolute rampage and tear ever since. And they are going to open up the Patriots at home like you wouldn't believe. The Pats are going to be they're going to have 4 losses at home this year.
I tend to agree.
Off the back of this game.
There's the chance of the Belichick magic at home. But
No.
you just look at...
No.
And it wouldn't surprise me if it did happen. Like, it would surprise me a bit. But you look at just straight facts about these two teams. Patriots have played no one good, and their defense... I know their defense is ranked well, but they haven't faced any good passing attacks, really, other than Tampa Bay and the Brady situation where... Can you look at that as an outlier with what the situation was? I think so. I think Brady coming back, all that sort of stuff. He certainly didn't play his best in that game. But you look at the Cowboys, they can attack you in any way. They showed Week 1 they can pass all over you, and they've showed that pretty much every week when they want to do it. They run the ball. They're dynamic. The Patriots' strength is their pass rush. The tackles for the Cowboys are playing better than any tackles in the league right now. Tyron Smith is back to his form. Their offensive line's great. Zeke Elliott's fresh and healthy. Prescott is playing. We talk about some quarterbacks. He's definitely in the MVP conversation at the moment.
Absolutely.
And they're loaded. And then you look on the other side. We talked about Washington earlier being, not knowing what they're doing. Cowboys are the exact opposite. Now, is Dan Quinn doing exotic things? No, he's got them organized. He has a lot of players that contribute in different. He hasn't just got 11 guys. He says, these are my 11 guys, and they're going to play. He has about 18 guys that have heavy rotations in the defense that all play different roles in different situations. So he uses them. They're simplistic and they know what they do. And then they rely on guys like Diggs, Micah Parsons, Lawrence, who's going to get back from injury soon, Leighton Vander Esch. They rely on these guys to make plays in their role. And it's working. It's working so far. They generate turnovers. And when you're a high-scoring offense, the more possessions you can get, the better. And that's what they do. They create mass turnovers and score a lot of points. And that is really hard to beat, especially when you're about the most undynamic, non-dynamic, whatever the word is, offense in the Patriots. I'm not buying the McCorkle hype. I don't care if he's at 71% completion. I don't care. He dunks everything down. They don't run the ball well. They're a really boring team to watch. We talk about the fun teams. This is not a fun team to watch. And I just think it's the Cowboys' time to go in there and just give them a basting. I'll be upset if we don't beat them by 10 points tomorrow.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think the Patriots are, everyone talks about, the Patriots, they're nothing but a mediocre team. The defensive ranking's been propped up by a lack of quality opponents. That's what it is. And that's what 100%. It should be called out as. It's the Pats are they're classic mid-table, mediocre, not Arthur, not Martha. They're not going to kill you, but they're not going to absolutely fade away in games either. Yes, they gave the Bucks a good nudge, but were they ever going to not do that in a game with such significance behind it? You think they were just going to roll out the red carpet for Brady and just say, here you go, boys. We've bought the Vaseline this week as well. Do your best. No, that wasn't going to happen. They were going to press them the entire night, and they did. And, the Bucks just had a little bit more cream in the end. And, well, that was probably the Pats' best game for the year. And it wasn't even.
It was. Yeah. So I agree. I think I'm taking the Cowboys comfortably.
This is going to be a mauling, and that's what I'm going to call it as. It'll be a mauling. This will probably be a 8 to 12 point win.
You're definitely allowed to come back anytime you want now, Paige, now that you're on board with the Cowboys. Because the other guys all hate the Cowboys.
I can't wait reason. I'm going to be lit up on Twitter for that, aren't I? So I look forward to that.
They are coming. The trolls are lining up right now. God forbid, if the Cowboys lose tomorrow, we are both going to get annihilated on Twitter.
It's not good. Not good.
Have you ever seen a notification come up on Twitter and thought, you know what? This is going to be a good one. Someone's coming in with some positivity here. It doesn't happen too often.
It's funny. In my role, you either get either end of the spectrum. You get someone trying to be like, you got it wrong, or you don't know what you're talking about, or some sort of hate or whatever. And then you get people that come in just like, oh, I really like you. I really like what you said. That was a great take. You were so right. You sit there and you go, yeah, Yeah, it was, wasn't I?
I know what I'm doing. Yeah, so you're
Look at that.
lucky. I don't think I've ever had someone on Twitter be like, "Yeah, good call, JA. Well done." Even when I predicted the Ravens to beat the Chiefs, no one believed me. Not one person came in. But if they'd lost, oh, you wait, that would have been all over me.
Yeah. I mean, I did give you cues the next morning,
You did.
so I,
You did.
well done.
I've been hot with my feelings, so hopefully I get one this week. Let's go to a game I'm not feeling good about at all. I said, my bias of the Steelers. I actually do it because we have a friend, Paige, if you listen to our podcast this week, we have a friend that sends us, he's an old friend that's a Steelers fan. He sends us a message every week about us picking on the Steelers, and it kind of fired us up to pick on them more. I'm less excited about the Seahawks in this game. I'm less excited. Is anyone excited for Geno? Like, I don't know. I'm not at all. Like, do not sign me up.
You would not be out of place this week to say, who the hell is Geno Smith? Like,
unless I only remember him from when he was at the Jets and he owed his own teammate $100, which, like, in schemes of the NFL it'd be like me owing you a cent. That's how little the money $100 is to these guys, and he wouldn't pay him back. So the guy punched him out and broke his jaw, and he missed 5 weeks in his rookie year when he was a second-round pick. That's the only thing I can really remember him for, and the roller coaster of his career from there. But I don't know. The Seahawks, they're in trouble here.
Yeah, they are. I think in saying that, I think Seahawk fans out there, I think they'll agree with me when I say this, that he was drafted in 2012 in the 3rd round, Russ, wasn't he?
Yep.
Came in immediately, well, not immediately, but did come in during that
year. Started straight away.
Well, he did start straight away, didn't he?
They signed Matt Flynn from the Green Bay Packers, who threw filling in for Aaron Rodgers the last game of the season before.
Yeah, that's
the record for touchdown throws.
Right.
They paid Matt Flynn all this money, hired Pete Carroll, drafted Russell Wilson, and everyone, when he started, Russell Wilson was like, "What are you doing? You've got Matt Flynn. Why are you starting this kid?" And then, it's been a pretty good ride from there.
He has not missed a game playing for the Seahawks since he was drafted and started in his rookie year. That is incredible to have a run like that. So Seahawks fans, you can't be feeling too bad in that regard. It's been quite a long innings. But I will say that in what now looks like potentially life without Russ, we know during the preseason, there were 4 teams that Russ was quite happy to get a trade to if it eventuated. And he's got a very heavy back-ended deal, doesn't he? That's a lot of dead money to be pushing around, especially in these times. 2 months he's out for, something like that. And
he cannot return before week 10. So that's at least the next 5 weeks.
Yeah. So, I mean, chances are he comes back before 2 months. Chances are he probably tries to push to get back. But then there's the other angle to it, and that is, does Russ actually come back this year? Let me give you my hot take.
He's going to sit on the bench.
Let me give you my hot take. If we know the Seahawks were kind of entertaining the thought of moving him on, and he himself was open to it, but had 4 teams. Now, we don't know who those 4 teams are. We could probably guess who they are, but we don't know for sure who they are.
Yep.
This is a big injury. When you're a QB, middle finger, throwing hand, you're not playing around with that. He's not going to be in a rush. Now, if he's got 5 weeks minimum sideline, the Seahawks aren't winning a game in that time. They're not winning a game with Geno Smith. I'm sorry, I'm calling it now. If I'm wrong, light me up on Twitter. Go for it. But the Seahawks season's going to be dead and buried. The NFC West already is completely jam-packed. Trying to stay in touch at the moment is one of the hardest things in football to do. The Seahawks, the season's done. It's done and dusted. You're looking to next year. If Russ's season is maybe 2 months coming back, he might not even decide to suit up for the rest of the year. Now, I know the guy's a competitive beast. Now, I know the coach.
Himself, you think?
I think so. There's going to be movement this offseason. I'm telling you right now, there is going to be a hell of a lot because there are contracts out there with a lot of dead money that teams are eyeing off to move on. And there were deals that didn't get done this year that probably should have, that might come back up again. A-Rod's one of them, right? So if Aaron Rodgers...
I actually like this call. I like this call a lot.
If Aaron Rodgers says, right, I'm done, and he moves to where he wants to go, there's like there's an option there at QB1 for the Packers.
You send Russ over there to cook in Green Bay.
Stranger things have happened. I don't know. I just think this is a significant injury. When you're a QB, your hand is your money earner.
He might want to protect the brand, you think?
And I think there would be no worse situation for someone like Russell Wilson. And perhaps even, there's been talk. Is he all he's cracked up to be? What's he done?
He's very good.
I love him. I love him personally. I think he's a great cat. Yeah. And there will be teams that will come left, right, and center for a guy like that who is as dynamic as that. You imagine being DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett with a guy like that making you move? He could make anyone move.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. If this injury, and we know injuries can be pretty fickle, particularly with fingers, they either heal really quickly or they take a little bit longer. If he feels as though he's not quite ready to come back, he will not. And even then, he might have feelings of, if I do come back, if he gets injured again, or hang on, what if I'm just not feeling as comfortable throwing it? Look at Dak Prescott. You're a Cowboys fan. Look at the time it took him to come back from that shoulder.
Yeah.
You earn so much money. You have a brand. This may have been the last game we've seen Russell Wilson play for the Seahawks.
I'm going to note this down, that if this happens, I'm going to paste this over every social media platform in the world. I think this honestly
may be the last game we see Russ play for the Seahawks. It is not beyond the realms of possibility, and you have to go back. If you don't remember it, go back, just Google it. Google it. The fact that Russ was happy to go to 4 different teams, the discussions were had. In good faith, those teams were kept out of the limelight. No one knows. It's cracking the Da Vinci Code who the teams are, for real. We could sit here and discuss who they would be, and I'm sure we could come up with not only just 4, but we'd come up with 6 to 8 franchises that would be reasonably good fit for Russ. But if the finger's not right, if it's taking a little bit longer, or he just may say, you know what, I can earn some big money next year and I can go to a contender that may be in a nicer division. I don't know.
Interesting. I'm gonna remember this and see how it plays out. It's not the worst. I said he could potentially try and protect himself from injury. I think he's going to be 6 to 7 weeks, and at that point, if the Seahawks are out of the playoff race, what would be the point of him rushing back?
Well, that's exactly it. What is the point? This is where it comes from, right? Like, what is the point in being such a highly paid, highly revered, and highly liked QB? This guy doesn't have any black marks against his name.
No.
He's a legitimately hardworking, much-loved clubman who has done wonders in his position and has been a fantastic reflection of the NFL. If you are looking, he is quite literally the key that unlocks a Super Bowl for another franchise. And he could still do it at the Seahawks, not saying he can't, and he has. But if the season's done, it
could also come with a quiet coach as well.
Absolutely. I don't know. Watch this space.
Who you got in this game? I got the Steelers at home. I can't believe I'm picking the Steelers at home.
Yeah, Steelers.
Pretty good. Roethlisberger was a bit better last week. I think they'll get their running game. Seahawks struggle to stop the run. They'll be able to run on them a bit. And their defense, like TJ Watt is going to be licking his.
Oh, isn't he just
coming after Geno Smith against a bad offensive line?
How many sacks do you reckon TJ's going to have this week? 3.
I'm taking him for 3.
3? Yeah, I think 3 is the start.
I'm taking the 3.
Yeah, if the line's 2.5, then absolutely 3. Lock me in.
Yeah,
I'm bringing up Sportsbet right now to lock that in. If that's
I can't believe. I think it's the first time this year 2 people have picked the Steelers on one of our shows. What a disgrace!
Oh God,
I still hate the Steelers, Skinny. I still hate them. Let's move on to the Monday Night Football game. We've got the Titans hosting the Bills. I think you'd find. I feel like we've been saying this all night. We're kind of in the golden age of young quarterbacks at the moment, aren't we? Because here's Josh Allen, another guy, like just dominating the league, dominating it, being so good. And then on the other hand, on the other side of the field, of the offense, got Derrick Henry, who I think if they said to me, all right, JA, you can stand in the middle of this street and you can have a car hit you, or you can try and tackle Henry, I'd pick the car.
Yeah. Do you remember that legendary stiff arm game last year?
Josh Norman game. Couldn't happen to a better bloke as well with Josh Norman.
This feels like that. This feels like shit. I mean, Derrick Henry, what a player.
He is an outlier of the NFL right now. Like normally at this point, running backs with this many carries and this many hits and yards are dying. Like they're just not producing anymore. He just seems to be getting stronger. It's unbelievable. He's so big. He's so strong. He's so fast. The line block for him well. They create lanes. Tannehill does his job. They'll get Julio and AJ Brown back this week. And I kind of can't believe I think this, but I think the Bills are due for a loss. I think they're due, and I think the Titans are going to give it to them at home. I think they're going to control the clock, keep Josh Allen off the field. Josh Allen will make a couple of dumb mistakes, which he can do at times. It hasn't been for a while, but it can happen. He'll make a couple of dumb mistakes, and then it'll allow the Titans to build a bit of a lead, and then Derrick Henry will just run all over them because, we talked about the Patriots being a bit of an outlier. Defensively, the Bills, so they're the number one scoring defense and the number one scoring offense in the league, which is huge. Yeah. The only two teams that have ever done that are the 1972 Dolphins, who went undefeated and won the Super Bowl, and the 1996 Green Bay Packers, who won the Super Bowl that year as well. Only two teams to do it. So, but I think the teams they've played defensively have been a bit of an outlier there. They've had the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots. They're kind of three easy ones. So, but I think Titans at home. I think Derrick Henry's going to be able to run all over him. I think he'll make this game interesting. The Titans will squeak a win out at home.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, does the proverbial air come out of the balloon this week for the Bills? Massive build up to last week's game and a massive win. It's funny because when you sort of assess this game, you look at the Titans, and I know you mentioned the teams they've played. So, they've had 3 weeks of facing Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Carson Wentz, who was on one leg. I also think that the Tennessee's offense, I don't think's really faced a secondary that's nearly as cohesive and as flexible as what Buffalo produce. This is, for me, is going to be a real test to see where Tennessee are at. That secondary is really good for the Bills. It's really, really, really good. It kind of feels like this game could be a letdown. I don't know what's sort of giving me that. There's a lot of hype coming into this too, for two different reasons. I think the Titans, again, this is a big game for them at home. Big test against the Bills. I am a little bit kind of conscious of the Titans. I know they get, a couple of players back. But I think what's their record at the moment? Is it 3-2?
Yeah, 3-2.
Yeah,
so the Jags and the Texans the last 2 weeks. So they haven't played a ton of good teams.
It's not really something that I think they're probably worse than what their 3-2 record probably suggests. And I'm almost surprised that the Bills aren't really favoured heavily, kind of, even when I'm looking at the betting line here. It doesn't really, I don't know. For me, there's something weird about this game that I don't like. But I think the Bills will really pull off another big 30. They're going to score 30-odd points again. And that'll take them to, I think, four consecutive games of 30-plus points. If they can do that, that's huge.
They're a loaded team.
I'm going to give a shout out to Dawson Knox. I really have come to love this guy. I
under the radar
really
guy.
think he is. I have been, and it's great that we've seen some really good Bills games in prime time this year, for Australian fans, that is. And I've just really, JA, I love a tight end. I love tight ends. I myself am an aspiring one. Maybe not great, but I'm getting there. I'm learning the art.
Is it Kintle or Kynal. What's his name from that 49ers
George
team?
Kittle is a god. Now address him by his formal name, please.
George.
Thank you.
Greg
George.
Kittle, I think his name is.
King George.
He's pretty
I
good.
just think Dawson Knox he's going to be just this really he's going to be a star of this competition. He is so athletically gifted. He's a big unit. My God, he is massive.
Great in the red zone.
He looks like a young Gronk in the red zone.
Yep.
I will call that right now. He reminds me of a young Gronk in the red zone. This guy just catches everything that comes into his vicinity. No one can get close to him. He has really become a great offensive weapon for Josh Allen, and I think that's been a big part of their improvement this year is they've found options at tight end in terms of scoring. Yes, the blocking game, we get the defensive side of it, but the avenue to score through the tight end position, if you can nail that, you are really forcing opposition defenses to really scramble, particularly when they go into trips like they have. They've been awesome.
Luck.
I like them.
I like Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox, so his first 2 years in the NFL, he's had 388 yards, 288 yards, and 5 total touchdowns in 2 seasons. This year, in 5 games, he already has 260 yards. He's 2 receptions off the most receptions in his career and 5 touchdowns. So he's literally doubled his output already in 1 season. So talk about a guy that's having a big jump. It's Dawson Knox is certainly one of them.
I love him. He's been fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in this game too.
Absolutely. And you're taking the Bills for some reason. Don't know why. I'm feeling the Titans at home. Can't tell you why. I still believe the Titans are good. I'm sucking. I'm sure I'm going to cop it for this, but there's something telling me the Titans are still a good team. And this is the one where they're going to come back and go, oh, yeah, the Titans are good still. We forgot about them. And it could be Derrick Henry just doing some damage. So, and I think there's only 3 or 4 disagreed on tonight. But this is going to be good. Hopefully the Monday Night Football game is good. That's all I'm asking for. Just give us a good game.
Yep.
That's it, Paige. That's the week. That's all the games. Well done. We said we were going to do it in under an hour, but we didn't. That's okay. Doesn't matter.
Sorry, everyone. We got carried away. This is some really topical stuff to talk about this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And stuff worth talking about, I think. So, Paige, I wanted to thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Guys, if you want to follow Paige, at Paige Cardona on Twitter. Is that right? Have I got it right?
Yep. At Paige Cardona. Yep.
Cardona, sorry.
Pretty straightforward. It's just my name.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy one, actually.
Or if you want to be Spanish and be like Cardona.
That's what I thought. I thought it was kind of like an Italian ring to it, Cardona.
Yeah, it's
I've been saying
Maltese, Spanish, Get
I'm a pretty cool guy like that, though. I say things pretty cool, Everyone says that, like my mum, my wife, not even my wife, just my mum.
So cool. You have to just call yourself JA,
Well, hey, when you got 2 first names, you got to roll. You can't confuse people if you say.
You got to pick one of them. You've got to pick one of them.
No, I really appreciate you coming on, Paige. Hopefully I'll have time to jump on and say good day to you at halftime tomorrow. If you are watching the Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night football games, jump on Twitter at halftime. Paige runs on NFL Australia's Twitter, runs a really cool little halftime show. You can jump in, say something, make fun of her, make fun of me, make fun of everyone, whatever you want to do. But get in there and interact.
I'm very welcome being made fun of.
It's the best. That's what we're here for, isn't it? And I think, I think your goal is very similar to the Vault Studios page, is that we just want to grow this sport in this country because it's the best sport in the world. And the more we can promote it, the more we can get it out there, the more people that can love it just like we do. So we're on the same page.
You're not wrong.
It's been a pleasure having you on a couple of weeks ago and this week, and it won't be your last time. I'll be saying this every time. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, hopefully, or even next week.
I'm always around to talk football to anyone who'll bloody well let me in listen. So
Beautiful. Well, thanks a lot for being here. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and you'll see us next week.